Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can see, I'm looking super weird right now with all of this eye on and no foundation because we're going to be trying out the brand new and actually not yet available on Sephora's website. This is the Shiseido Synchro Skin Radiant Lifting Foundation. It's oil free and it's SPF 30, and I also have the Synchro Skin Soft Blurring Primer. So I'm really excited to review these for you. I actually got these in an influencer Vox box and I'm super excited. I'm going to check Shiseido's website too and see if it says when it's launching, but this foundation does not launch on Sephora's website until the 19th of January and in stores on February 5th. So it's really cool that I got it early. If you recall, Shiseido had a foundation come out that everybody loved, or at least I think it got really great reviews, and it was the Synchro Skin Self-Refreshing Foundation. So this one is the Radiant Lifting, which to me sounds amazing, especially this time of year. So I'm very excited to get into it. So it looks like you can get it now on their website. So let me tell you about this foundation. So first, let's take a quick glance at it. That is the box, and I picked this color obviously not really knowing, so I'm gonna hope that it's gonna be a good match. I went for I think it was the 4th or 5th shade. I have shade number 140 Porcelain, but I was basically looking for not the lightest but a few shades in that was fair and cool undertone, and I think it's gonna be pretty good. I'm excited for this. I think it's gonna be a good match. So let's talk about what the foundation is supposed to do. It says it's a luminous foundation that hydrates for up to 24 hours, adapts to your skin for a medium to full coverage radiant finish. That's like right up my alley. That's kind of the wheelhouse that I like. It has an SPF 30. It has light adjusting technology, so it's supposed to lift, refine, and smooth for a luminous looking finish. Radiant microcrystals correct the look of shadows created by fine lines and wrinkles so that skin appears smoother and firmer. Transparent luminous pearl visibly counteracts hyperpigmentation by creating an even canvas to optimally reflect light. It's water resistant formula, SPF 30, buildable coverage that won't easily transfer, crease, smudge, or fade. It is also non-comedogenic and dermatologist tested. So that's all about the foundation. I'm also going to quickly look at the primer. Same launch details on Sephora's website as well. So the primer says that it's a weightless, water-based primer that visibly mattifies, refines pores, and blurs the skin. Typically, I don't go for mattifying primers, but I can totally understand having a more radiant finish and doing something a bit more matte underneath. So we're going to try it. I'm going to give it a shot. It says it's a cream formula for all skin types, normal, dry, combination, and oily, corrects pores, oil, and uneven skin tone. It has mattifying powders and peptides to minimize shine. Sebum catch powder prolongs makeup by absorbing oil and sweat throughout the day. Snowflake powder, scatters the light to smooth the appearance of fine lines, wrinkles, and rough skin. So it quickly and visibly blurs and mattifies your complexion. It's a water-based primer, up to 8 hours of hydration while absorbing excess oil throughout the day. That sounds like a really good one if it mattifies and hydrates. I'm like, okay, I might love this. The formula is non-comedogenic, dermatologist tested. They did a 3-day consumer study of 103 women. 94% agreed the primer made their skin feel soft and smooth. 92% agreed it smoothed the surface of the skin. Come here, baby. She really wants some attention right now. Okay, so I think that pretty much gives us the detail. This is what the primer looks like. Pretty simple. So let's go ahead and get started. Ooh, it's got a long little nozzle. Okay, so I'm gonna put a little bit here and here and see if we need some more. I think that should be a generous amount. It feels nice for a mattifying primer. When I think mattifying, I'm thinking like thicker, sometimes more blurring, but just a pretty thin formula. It feels very velvety smooth. I don't smell any scent whatsoever. I feel like that did kind of sink into the skin, so I'm gonna add just a touch more, especially around my nose. And I've obviously concealed around my brows, but I'm still gonna put a little bit on my forehead. Okay, so far so good. It feels very smoothing. I do see where it's blurred my pores and fine lines, so we're gonna see how well that lasts and see what it looks like under makeup for sure. So this is what it's saying for usage of the foundation. It says for seamless application, use your fingers to blend the featherweight formula into your skin, moving from the center of the face outward. To build coverage, use the Use a foundation brush that is sold separately. If you want a natural looking glow, a different face brush. So it's a couple of their brushes that they're recommending. So it says to start with fingers, so I'm gonna start there. I may test out how a sponge does because you know that's my favorite, but we'll start with fingers, which I don't normally find to be my favorite, but obviously your fingers are a great tool because you can really feel exactly what you're doing. And I think this color is going to be really good. It looks a lot like the Bare Minerals foundation I had, that I got using the app, and that was an amazing match. It's like a really good color. I don't love finger application, and maybe it's just because I'm messy at it, but I don't love the application of it. So I'm working with what I have here. I'm just gonna see for 1 second. It doesn't seem to be making any claims about how long it's supposed to wear, which I was kind of curious about if it had a claim that we could test. I am going to do check-ins and show you guys this foundation throughout my day and show you, you know, at least several hours in how it's performing, but it doesn't claim to be incredibly long wearing. It does claim to be very hydrating for a long period of time, so we'll want to see how that goes. I feel like it maybe sheared out my coverage a little bit in the cheek by using the sponge, which is to be expected. So I'm going to try out a little foundation brush and see how we do with that. I just wanted to bring you in a little bit so you can see. I haven't touched this area since I used a sponge. Could maybe use a little build of coverage there, but I feel like the side that I'm using to just buff and blend with this brush is looking pretty good. So there was something about applying it with my fingers that definitely like spread it nicely. I'm liking kind of like doing it that way and then kind of just buffing with the brush. The brush is always so nice to get around your nose and areas like that too. All right, I'm gonna use my e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer just because it's been the one I've been loving and I would like to compare it to something that I really know and love. I also do not have a Shiseido concealer, so this is just something I know and I trust how it works. It's worked with pretty much any foundation. I'm gonna try with a sponge, but I'm gonna pay attention and make sure it's not gonna pick up too much foundation around. So I like to keep it really small when I start blending and make sure that I'm not like pressing clean sponge into my cheek and my foundation. It's easy to do and you can definitely fix it if you do, but it's nice to just start out with that small little section of the sponge and just pressing into the concealer. Under my eyes, I'm going to use some of this Lancome Long Time No Shine powder and set my concealer. Alright, I'm going to use the Sephora Collection Micro Smooth powder. This one's a baked powder you can use to set your face. It also is really beautiful to like blur out if anything's a little harsh. I'm just going to press this into the foundation. I want to just set it. I don't want to do anything too crazy. So really this should give you like the perfect balance, especially like I'm combination. So to me this sounds amazing if I can get the oil control on my nose and the hydration on the rest of my face. I'm gonna gently press my hands and see any areas where I have a ton of excess moisture. I'm feeling it not being set, you know, completely, and I just want to add a little extra powder in those areas. All right, now that we're powdered, I'm going to take about 10 minutes to do a bronze, blush, contour, highlight, all that goodness, throw on a lip, and then I'll come back and show you kind of what we're starting with and how it's looking just a few minutes in, and then we'll do check-ins too. So I'm excited to see how it performs, but so far it's looking really, really nice. So I'll be right back. Alright, so here is my finished makeup. Of course, I did all my normal stuff, blush, bronzer, contour, highlight, all that goodness, and also put on a lip. So I feel like everything is looking pretty good unless you see like all the texture and stuff. I mean, you're always gonna have texture, like nothing crazy. I do see a little bit of like emphasizing right here, and I don't know if that's just the highlight. After I put my highlight on my cheek, I added a little bit here and here. Just excess on the brush, not a lot, just a touch. But what I am noticing though is like all the expressions that I'm making, which I'm making so many expressions today. I don't know what my deal is. I'm like so expressionate, and I do feel like it's floating on the skin. So as I'm expressing and then returning my face back, it is kind of like flexing with my skin, I feel like. And my smile line is always the worst spot. It's definitely worse on this side than it is on this one. So I like it. It's not prominent yet. We're gonna see how that goes and see if this is like something really amazing that's not gonna crease up so bad. But that wasn't really the main points of the foundation anyway. I have the memory of a squirrel, so let me just refresh my memory of what it's supposed to do. So it's supposed to lift, refine, a luminous finish, which I guess overall it does look luminous. I'm trying to like look at areas apart from obviously my highlighted areas and see like down here if I look luminous. I feel like my skin looks really healthy wearing this foundation, that's for sure. So it's supposed to correct the look of shadow so the skin appears smoother. So I mean, I feel like so far it's doing that. I'm just really curious, you know, in a few hours if that's going to be creased up. I usually crease very easily, especially right here, sometimes here as well. So far so good though. It feels really nice on the skin. I have just recently put a lot of powder on though, so I really like to see, you know, the finish in an hour or two, because I feel like immediately when you set your face, it's obviously going to be a bit more, you know, drier and matte looking. Let me just give you guys a look. So if you want to look at how things are going so far. So that is it for now. I will check in with you guys in a couple hours. Alright, so it has been 3.5 hours since I've had this makeup on and I fell asleep on the couch. So let's see how we're doing. I mean, I feel like this is about normal for me. I'm not seeing a lot of shine come through, so I feel like the primer is definitely working to absorb the oil. I mean, I feel like I'm experiencing about the same as some of my favorite foundations. I'm looking for like that radiance that it's supposed to have. Now, I did take some pictures in portrait mode and regular lighting just under my room lights, not my beauty lights, and it still looked pretty good. I feel like for a portrait mode picture, it still looked really good. I feel like it's wearing pretty decently, but I don't see anything that's like super different than a lot of other foundations that I have. I also don't feel like it's really super radiant, because considering I only used my micro smooth powder to set my face, a lot of times I will use setting powder all over my face and still I'm not seeing like a ton of radiance. So that's what it's looking like 3.5 hours in. I am about to go to the store, so I'll have to wear a mask, so we'll be able to see how it does with that as well, and we'll do one final check-in in a couple hours. Alright, it's been a few more hours, so I've had this foundation on for about 7 hours at this point. It's getting pretty late. I have to say, I kind of have to take back a little bit of what I said before, because it's actually worn really well, and I can tell too, one thing about my smile line, like it's not creasing entirely, but I have to say it doesn't look as deeply creased as it usually does. Like it's usually a pretty, you know, dark line right there where you can clearly see that it's creasing, and it has been a little bit more forgiving. It's still creased, just not as bad. I usually do this little trick, you know, kind of tap it back in, but I haven't been doing that, so I'm curious. Okay, it looks even better just tapping that in, and I actually think it looks really pretty. The primer really did its job because I have not blotted. I usually will like blot my nose with the back of my hand, let my hand absorb that oil, but I haven't done that today, and it's just a little bit of shine peeking through, which is the only area where I get super oily, and other than that, it looks good. I mean, I have no complaints. The color was really good, and I feel like it was a very like lifelike skin color, you know what I mean? It's like it wasn't extremely yellow or extremely red or anything. Like the tone was very like real life, fair, cool undertone skin. I can't speak to the entire shade range obviously, but it does come in 30 shades, so that's something to note. It's not as big a skin range as some foundations coming out with like close to 50, but 30 is not bad. Like 30 is not like one of those where I'm like, bitch, what are you doing? I'd love to see the foundation in person and actually see the colors, because I feel like online just doesn't tell you as much as you need to know. They did kind of like depict it here, and it looks like it has a decent range, but I'm curious, like, is there a deeper one than that? And of course, you know, what's the variation in between with the tones? Because this is pretty good coverage, so you would need the color to be pretty much correct. And I'm very excited to keep using it though. I feel like this is actually wearing better than my favorite foundations right now. And my favorites have been my NARS, is it Natural Radiant Longwear? Love that one. And then my Anastasia Luminous. So these are kind of like similar, and I have to say this one performed a little bit better. So this may be like my new favorite because everything wore so well. And I actually went and wore a mask for only about 10 or 15 minutes, probably 15 minutes total, and I got minimal wear off. Like it kind of wore off on my nose a tiny bit, like that's gonna happen, but no big areas. Like there's just a couple spots. I mean, and that was me taking a nap with my makeup on, which I usually don't do. So yeah, I have to say it looks really pretty. Now that it's a little bit more lived in, which I always think your foundation doesn't look its best right when you put it on, I think like an hour or two, but this is looking like, you know, fresh hour or two makeup 7 hours in. I have to say that this foundation is really, really nice. And it said it gives you hydration and luminosity were like 2 keywords that I remember in the description. And I do feel like I have that. I feel like my skin overall looks really healthy. I don't look overly shiny, but I do look like I have a healthy glow to my skin, which is nice, even with setting powder and all of that goodness. It says it adapts to lighting, minimizing shadows and imperfections. I think that's true because usually when I go into just straight up portrait mode on my phone, it's like not the best, you know, but it actually looked really good. I was impressed. Just my natural texture to my skin and nothing else. And most importantly, I do feel like my smile line looks better wearing this foundation than maybe any other foundation. So I feel like it lived up, you know, everything that it said, medium to full coverage, hydrating, luminous. I feel like my skin just looks really healthy. So I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say it fulfilled everything that it said. I never tried the other one, the other original Synchro skin that was supposed to like flex with you throughout the day. So I'm actually curious if I want to try that formula too. And since this color was so good, 140 porcelain, like just to give you a frame of reference, that's my shade. If you know, maybe you're close to my shade and you feel like you're a little bit more golden, or you're just a little teeny bit deeper, or you're a little lighter, kind of give you some frame of reference, but I do feel like the color is really, really good. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I feel like it went really well. I don't have any complaints about this foundation. It looks good, it feels good. I don't feel like I'm wearing a heavy mask of foundation, and yeah, I mean, what else can I say? It was really good. And I have to say the primer did exactly what it said. It definitely helped to blur a little bit, and it did control the oil on my nose to an extent, which is really good because it will generally come through a lot, even with a lot of setting powder. So I definitely recommend this duo. If you're interested, I would pick it up, give it a try. And that is it for the review of the new Shiseido Synchro Skin Radiant Lifting Foundation. I'm a big fan. I hope you guys are a fan of the video. If you are, be sure to leave a thumbs up. I could really use your help right now. YouTube has put me in the toilet, and if you could help me get out, that would be amazing. So make sure, if you haven't seen my other videos, make sure to go and find and watch any videos that interest you. That would mean a great deal to me right now. And I appreciate you guys so much for watching. Thank you again, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.